Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu once came to the Prophet ﷺ and offered him some dates. The Prophet looked at the dates. He said, Bilal, these are very high quality dates. Where did you get them? Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, O Messenger of Allah, I had 2 kilograms, if you'll allow me to use that measurement, of inferior quality dates. Maybe the 2 kilograms were worth $25 each, $50. And I exchanged them for this 1 kilogram of superior quality dates, which probably was worth $50. So in value, they were equal. I exchanged these 2 kilograms for this 1 kilogram. Bilal, said the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, Bilal, this is the essence of riba. Bilal, what you should have done was to sell the 2 kilograms and use that money to buy the 1 kilogram. But a direct exchange of dates for dates, which was an unequal exchange, was haram, was riba. Why? Why? 100 years ago, even a schoolboy could answer that question. Today, not even Darul Uloom Zakaria in Johannesburg could answer that question. Yeah. Not even Darul Uloom Newcastle can answer that question. Why? To find out why an unequal exchange of dates was haram and riba. In answering that question, we are introduced to the subject of what is money in Islam. What is money in the Quran? What is money in the Sunnah? I gave this lecture at Darul Uloom Newcastle in South Africa. And the head of the Darul Uloom, may Allah have mercy on his soul, the venerable Maulana Sima, the old man was sitting there for 2 hours for the lecture. And at the end of the lecture he said to me, we have to teach this subject in the Darul Uloom. Meaning, it's not taught. It's not taught. The Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, he gave a command. When a transaction is such that it involves an exchange of gold for gold, or silver for silver, or wheat for wheat, or barley for barley, or dates for dates, or salt for salt. 6 of them. You can't see it, but you can hear it. Gold, silver, wheat, barley, dates, salt. It must be equal for equal. You cannot have an unequal exchange, otherwise it would be riba. Before we ask the question, why would it be riba? Let us look at these 6. What is common to all 6? This is a hadith, incidentally, which the world of Islam is very familiar, very familiar. Gold for gold, silver for silver, etc. What is common to all 6 is that they were all used as money. That when gold or silver coins were in scarce supply in the market, in Medina, they would use dates as money. And so from this hadith, we get a definition of money in the Sunnah. That money was either precious metals, gold and silver, or commodities of food consumption, which were in abundant supply in the market and which had a shelf life. So you wouldn't use mangoes as money because your money would be rotting. What was common to all of these six is that the value of the money was inside the money. The money had intrinsic value. What was common to all six is that the value of the money, despite fluctuations based on demand and supply, the value was always value created by Allah. And so we get the definition of money in the Sunnah. Because dates were used as money, if we allowed an unequal exchange of dates, then I can lend money on interest. I just give you 1 kilogram and you will return to me 2 kilograms after 1 year. So you will open the door for the moneylender if you allow an unequal exchange of money, the same money being used on both sides. But you could not use animals as money, because you know the one, I got a goat as my salary, and I was taking the goat home. The goat fell down, died. So when I reached home, I said to my wife, salary died. Salary died. So she said, go tell the boss. So I went to the boss, I said, boss, salary died. He said, but when I gave you salary, salary was alive. Since animals can fall ill, since animals can die, animals could not be used as money. And therefore you could have an unequal exchange of camels. This is money in the Sunnah. Money with intrinsic value. Money which is either precious metals or commodities of food consumption in abundant supply in the market, and which had a shelf life. Money with value, despite fluctuations based on demand and supply, with value created by Allah. Only He can create wealth out of nothing. He is Badiyus Samawati wal Ard. He creates out of nothing. Is this money also in the Quran? Yes, it is. He takes to task the Israelite people. وَمِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ, and amongst them, the Ahlul Kitab. مَنْ إِنْ تَأْمَنْهُ بِكِنْتَارٍ يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ. If you entrust him with a kintar, which is a treasure, about, say, 1,200 ounces of gold, enough to buy a house in San Francisco. When you want it back, يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ, he returned it to you. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ إِنْ تَأْمَنْهُ بِدِينَارٍ لَا يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ. And amongst them there are those who, if you entrust him with 1 dinar, when you want it back, he won't give it back to you. إِلَّا مَا دُمْتَ عَلَيْهِ قَائِمًا. The only way you can get it back is if you stand there demanding it and pounding for it. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا لَيْسَ عَلَيْنَا فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ سَبِيلٌ. This is because of the double standards we talked about in the previous session. That we have one code of morality amongst ourselves, and we do not have to apply that code of morality with these cockroaches. الأميون ويقولون على الله الكذب وهم يعلمون. But they tell a lie against Allah. They do it knowingly. They have changed the word of Allah. I couldn't preach this in New York today. I could have done it 10 years ago. But today I cannot deliver this lecture in New York. They changed the word of Allah. But in this ayah, the word dinar is present. And the word dinar in the Quran refers to a gold coin. No one challenges that. And then in Surah to Yusuf, they took him out of the well. And they took him to Misr. And they sold him in Misr. وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ دَرَاهِمَ مَعْدُودَةٍ. They sold him for a few measly dirhams. And a dirham in the Quran is a silver coin. And so in the Quran we have money. And money in the Quran is precious metals. And money in the Sunnah is precious metals as well. And when there is a shortage of gold and silver, then you can use commodities. It is so simple. Now then, so long as we use this money, the money that Allah and His Messenger has ordained that we use, this money functioned successfully as money. What are the functions of money? Number one, money functions as a medium of exchange for buying and selling. Notice, I am teaching this subject so simply. There is nothing complicated here. And so when you go back home and you have to teach the subject, please teach it simply and do not make it complicated. It's a simple subject. And so the first function of money is to be a medium of exchange. So long as mankind use real money, it always functions successfully, not only as a medium of exchange, but also as a measure of value. But money has a third function to perform, and that is to be a store of value. In Surah Al-Kahf, when that man dug a hole, remember, and buried his money in the hole, and then he built a wall, and he prayed because maybe he was terminally ill, and he had little children, that his orphan children, when they grow up and become adults, that they would be able to get the money he had left behind for them. If he left behind 100 gold coins, and the 100 gold coins could buy 100 camels, then he would want that his money 20 years from now would have stored its value, preserved its value, so that 20 years later, when his children got that money from the hole, that money could still buy 100 camels, provided demand and supply being constant. Our money, the money in the Quran, the money in the Sunnah, perform that function successfully of being a store of value. And this is how the world traded. If you wanted to rip off someone, what you'd have to do is to mix some kind of alloy with the gold, or chip the gold. The State University of New York, in a place called Binghamton, is famous for scholars who have distinguished themselves in the study of the free and the fair market. And they have come to the conclusion that the last free and fair market that the world ever experienced was the market of the Ottoman Islamic Empire. When the strange and mysterious alliance took place between European Jews and European Christians, that strange and mysterious alliance created modern Western civilization, the modern West. And the modern West then proceeded to attack money, to corrupt money, to destroy real money, and to substitute it and replace it with artificial money, bogus, fraudulent money that was totally and utterly haram.